All right, cool. We're at GDC with the Tiger Style guys who are going to show us the new spider. So the official title of this is what?
It's Rite of the Shrouded Moon.
Okay.
And yeah, we're aiming to release it later this year. And we got a little ways to go, but we got some in-progress stuff to show you that should be pretty interesting to look at.
Cool.
So where do you want to begin, Randy?
Well, let's go to the carriage
Let's
house.
go to the carriage house.
So that's David, and I'm Randy. We're the two principal dudes in Tiger Style. And yeah, so this is a sequel to 2009 Spider, The Mystery of Bryce Manor, which actually
The Secret of Bryce Manor.
Yeah, let's just call it by the right title, man. And that we're very honored that was the TouchArcade Game of the Year in that year, so that was awesome. And we are making a very faithful sequel in the sense that once again you play a spider who has to draw shapes out of threads.
The webs look better this time around. Like everything looks better.
Thanks. Yeah. No.
Lighting looks better.
Well, sorry to jump ahead a little bit in the presentation.
Well,
one of the things, no, that's totally fine. One of the things we knew we had to do was, even though Spider was super well received, we knew we just had to up the production qualities a lot, and we also really wanted to. You know,
Right.
Spider was made in only 8 months with a very small team. Mobile games have come a long way since then. Indie games have come a long way since then, and we just really wanted we basically have an opportunity and a need to make things much more beautiful, much more dynamic.
Like everything has changed since the release of
Yeah,
Spider.
I mean, like, yeah, even stuff like the webs. I mean, we were trying to make them, you know, like feel more dynamic, and there's stuff we're doing with webs later on where certain webs can be broken, and you know, trying to just kind of like work new challenges into like the framework that everybody's already familiar with if they played the original.
So you said you were low on silk. Is that something you can increase, or?
That's the same from the original game. Like, you have a certain amount of silk to draw your shapes with to make the webs to capture the insects. And if you run out, you die. But as you eat insects that you're capturing, you'll get your silk back. So it's kind of like how you stay alive, is continuing to eat more and more insects, but not be so inefficient with your web building that you run out of silk.
So the core mechanic is pretty similar. Basically.
It's very similar. As David was saying, we've really done a lot to add the amount of insects and their behaviors. That's a really big component. It's not just like in the original Spider, there's only 7 insects, and here there's going to be dozens, and they have lots of different behaviors that relate to each other. Not just ones that fly around in the air. There's ones that crawl around on surfaces, that jump, that interact with each other in some simple ways.
Yeah, and we're trying to work on a lot of like more rare insects also. So there's like a collection component to the insect population of the world. So there will be insects that are only available at when certain conditions are true, that you have to kind of hunt for a little bit more actively than in the first game. The first game only had 7 insects, and that was it. So we're trying to kind of expand the game, like, you know, both breadth-wise and depth-wise.
That's not gonna work because we turned the internet off.
So you want to talk about this feature?
So one of the things we're trying to do the most in the new Spider game is blur the lines between gameplay and reality. And specifically, one of the things that the game does is it knows where you are in the real world, and it knows what time of day it is there, and what the weather's like. So that's why it knows we're in San Francisco, so it just checks that there's a clear day in San Francisco. That's why we just saw this level, which is the first level in the Spider game, and during clear day. For debug and development purposes, we have these debug tools down here, so we can switch it over to be a rainy night, and then we can go back and check it out. So if you're playing in a different part of the world or at a different time in San Francisco, it might be a rainy night, and then you would see this level instead.
That's cool. So that's where like your teaser site came from, where it was like changing.
Yes.
Exactly. And so that was a really subtle hint about that. And like one of the things, again, what we're trying to do is be pretty discreet with our information, and we're building a lot of puzzles and mystery and questions into the game. So even when you're figured out the story of Spider, Rite of the Shrouded Moon, you won't necessarily know what was real and what was fake. So in this case, what we're seeing is that there's some different insects in this map. This is just the first map of the world, so it's not. The differences are mostly visual. It's hard to see that they're of all the gameplay differences, but they're here. So, for example, this moth is now flying around the light bulb because the light bulb was on. Previously, he was just kind of sleepy because it was during the day, and moths aren't active during the day. This is a firefly. It's one of the new insects in the game. They only come out at night. Mosquitoes, which were one of the insects in the first Spider, they come out during the rain. And you know, this is a feature that we're continuing to develop and continuing to figure out how to best maximize. Because what we really want to do is make every level feel super different, so we're still trying to figure that out, but we're going to make things like as extremely different as possible. Not just which insects are there, but like parts of the environment, like there's a rain spout with water gushing out if it's raining and you can't get up there to a different part of the roof unless it's clear. Or like, there's a windmill you can see here in the background, actually spins faster during rain because there's more wind then, and that impacts things that are going on inside the windmill.
Yeah, let's show some other environments.
Yeah.
Some different conditions.
So that's one of the biggest things. So our hope is that it's a game that you're going to want to revisit spaces over and over because you're trying to find that rare moth that you know must exist, and you're pretty sure you figured out that it's at this one particular part of the roof, and you know that you're not going to be able to get to that part of the roof unless it's a clear night, when the moth shows up at night and it's cleared so that you can get up there without getting washed down by the rain spout and stuff like that.
Let's do rainy day gargoyles. How about that?
Sure. There's another outside level.
That's cool. I always really like the real world integration stuff because like that's what felt so compelling about Animal Crossing.
Exactly.
It was like, oh, if I gotta shit, it's night. I gotta like check.
Yeah, but Animal Crossing, it was only because it was a different world there, right? So like it didn't know if it was raining in your world. It only knew
right.
at night. And so we're trying to really crank the knob on that. Animal Crossing was an inspiration, but we just thought like their motive wasn't to design that as hard as they could, and kind of our motive is to like really push really hard on this thing.
So what happens? What does the game do if you're playing on like an iPod Touch or an iPad, without 3G and you don't have internet connectivity? Like, does it just randomly?
You know, we haven't actually decided what the fallback case is. If you have an internet connection at all, it will look you up based on IP address if it doesn't have location services enabled. So it'll basically work on any phone or tablet, like most of the time. If you're on an airplane or you have things shut down for whatever reason. I think it's probably just gonna either fall back to the last location that you used. We can always obviously check time because that's just local to your device.
Right.
We're probably we're looking at finding a way to give the player a tool to actually change that stuff, maybe on occasion, so that you're not strictly bound to the real world time and weather. But it probably is going to be an exceptional thing where, you have to find something in the game, and maybe you get one use per day, something like that. We really want you to like think about the weather and the time when you play this game. Like even during development, we noticed like I pay more attention to when it's raining out, and I'm like, oh, I should go play the game and check it out.
That's the moment we want to give you. Is you're like, oh my gosh, it hasn't rained in a week, and I know exactly what to do, but it's raining now. I have to go do that. We're also seeing some of the new like insect types and behaviors here. That we saw that there's insects that can break your web, so you have to figure out how to make stronger webs. This little guy that I'm chasing down right now is actually smart enough not to fly into webs, so you have to find out some other way to capture him. So if I can build another web here, when he comes back around, you'll see he's still not going to fly into it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so I can continue to kind of like hem him in until I eventually get him, or if I'm really good, I can like close my web just at the right time to capture him.
Yeah.
And so we've really taken that core mechanic and tried to figure out like, hey, how much legs does this have? I suspect 8. And what are all the different ways we can kind of like make more fun gameplay out of it?
There are going to be 8 spider games, then we'll be done with the franchise. I actually wanted to show inchworms. We could show inchworms or crickets. There's a bunch of different new insect types, and we're trying to do a lot of like subtype variety within each type of insect.
Cool. You want to go to the kitchen though? We could show something.
Yeah, let's do kitchen. Yeah. We'll show that.
San Francisco.
Rainy.
No, it's not rainy. That's because we're not connected to the internet.
Oh, right.
It's
just guessing. It's probably just.
Well, San Francisco is probably. And so there's a bunch of new major features that we've worked really deeply into the design, so that we can do that thing where we're not just building a straight sequel, but we're taking what was great about Spider and making it bigger and richer, and that's basically what we're going for. And one of the new features, which is just kind of a clever little idea David had one day that turned out to be awesome, even though it's still very simple, is this idea of different perspectives. So here we're in the familiar side view perspective, but then we can go down till we're on the floor of the same space. So here we are in the kitchen
like
floor.
micro machines.
I don't know about micro machines, but I believe you. And so right now this is kind of a pretty simple, like kind of Pac-Man-y almost. You like chase down these ants. There's a few other types of insects we're going to put in these surfaces. And it's shockingly fun already, so that's a great place for us to be, because now we just have to figure out what else to do with it. But it's just really fun to get these new perspective on these same environments, you know, and it still makes you feel like a spider, like you're the small being in this big environment, and the environment is still telling a story.
So much of the Spider 1 gameplay, or the storytelling in Spider 1 had to be adapted to the fact that everything was presented from one perspective on one, in a given room. And so now we we'll present multiple walls and potentially the floor as well, and so you get to kind of put a picture together in your mind of like what's going on in a space a little bit more completely.
Yeah,
seems like there's lots of room for like hiding neat little things that you have to like piece together based on the two different ways you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. So as the guy who designs the environments and tries to put the story in them, it's always helpful. There's probably some players out there at TouchArcade who actually remember stuff like this fact I like to bring up that no one else would remember. But like at the very end of Spider, there's like a keyhole in a hearth that we really needed you to see both the side of the hearth and to see that there's a keyhole in it, but we only got to do one plane. One perspective per level. So I put like this mirror that's like, but nobody understood that. Like there's supposed to be a mirror reflecting the keyhole, but it was hard to work under those constraints. And so now I can just have two different planes, so you can see the front of the hearth and the side.
What would we like to show? Entrance hallway is pretty.
I mean, that's kind of the essence of what we got now. We definitely have made the game much more beautiful. It's a much more a dynamic environment. Lots of stuff going on. It knows what's going on in the real world, and it matches the conditions of your gameplay to that in the real world.
So did you guys ever do anything to... I remember some of the funnier complaints that came in about the original game was people that were like super captivated by like the mechanic, really liked how the story was like hidden inside of it, but were like deathly afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Or like, can you put some mode in there where you play as like a bumblebee or something like that?
We are thinking about that actually, because our intent, we're currently, the art for the spider is the art from Spider 1, but we're intending to redo it because we're using a skeletal animation system now for all the insects so that they can all be reskinned, and so we want to have a spider that we can reskin, and so we'll have a bunch of different spiders, and you can unlock different types, by exploring or
very friendly non-spider spider.
And so I don't know if it's going to be like a flying chipmunk or what exactly it is that we want it to be, but there was actually real demand for that. Like there are people who wanted to play our game and just would not because they're so freaked out by spiders.
I want it to be a walrus, a very small walrus that like flops its way around and then can jump suddenly.
You guys could do like the old school thing where you do tie-ins with old iOS games and have it like plays the Doodler from Doodle Jump.
Yeah, sure.
But we're just gonna find out what the word for like walrus phobia is, and then we're just gonna have the same problem.
Right.
It's gonna be like the subset of players who have both arachnophobia and walrus phobia are gonna be writing us emails. And so obviously Rite of the Shrouded Moon has a whole story just like Spider did that isn't up in your face with lots of cutscenes. It's just in the background with the set dressing, and you sort of can look at those and figure out what the story of the people who once lived here is and what's going on. There are some big important changes, including the fact that unlike Spider 1, they're not all gone when the game starts, so there's some people who are still present here, and that it's an estate. It's not just one house, it's a bunch of collection of buildings, so we just thought that there's a carriage house, and now we're in the proper part of the manor. Oh, that thing should be burning you.
So do you ever see...
Who designed this level?
Do you ever see like actual human movement in game, or is it just obvious things are changing?
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much about it, but there's some people. They might not have the, it's not like you have conversations with them, but they're present in the world and they're doing stuff. That's part of the story. And then the entire estate is called Blackbird Estate, and it was made by a secret society. And so a lot of what you are doing is not just learning the domestic dramas and plights of this family that lives in the estate, but also why the secret society built it and what the hidden purpose is.
That's awesome.
And so Spider, the original Spider, had just sort of one mystery you could unlock if you're super smart and observant and did all the right things at all the right time.
Or just read the thread on TouchArcade.
Or just read the thread and just went straight for the FAQ. And Spider Rite of the Shrouded Moon is going to have a bunch of different mysteries that you can unlock one at a time.
Cool. And when do you guys think you're going to have it all done? Like you said, this is like the first world right now. It's completed, basically.
Yeah. Well, we're feeling pretty good about a lot of the level art you see. A lot of the menus and the metagame, as we call it, is very placeholder still. So we have a ways to go. I think we'll probably finish it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We're feeling good about a lot of the progress, but a lot of this insect art is still very placeholder. There's lots more levels that we still have to build. Lots more parts of the estate. We haven't done anything with the spider. Still the spider from Spider 1. And the metagame it's coming along, and it's themed like an old map. Like the idea is that there's this old map of the estate that you look at as you make your way through the estate.
Awesome.
It should be very cool, and you can jump from level to level in kind of a cooler way than you could in the first Spider game. But there's just tons of work to do there, so. we're feeling good about the concepts. We think this game is going to be amazing. We think it's going to be one of the indie hits of this coming year, and that we really think that the Spider fans are going to love it, and we're making it for them. So thank you guys. But yeah, we got to do it right. It's going to take some time. So the short, I don't know, August.
We're going to be showing at PAX in April, and so we'll be on the floor there. So if anybody listening happens to be attending PAX, you should come by and check us out. We'll also have the game. We're making it for iOS, Android, PC, Mac, Linux, and possibly other things. So yeah, come check us out, and we look forward to sharing more.
Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to show us all this stuff.
Yeah.
Super stoked for this.
Thank you guys.